One of the most important questions to ask when it comes to SEO and technical SEO in particular is how Google is indexing the pages on your site. So indexing is the middle step of the process, right? There's three steps. There's crawling pages, indexing pages, ranking pages. Google first goes out, they crawl the web, they find all the pages that exist. Then they bring those pages back in, they process those pages. As they process those pages, they build an index of all those pages. An index is basically a database of all the pages that Google has gone through and processed. And then they pull from that database, they pull from that index in order to rank the pages in search results. So we want to know if Google is indexing pages correctly on our site. And one way we can do this is in Google Search Console with the page indexing report. So in the sidebar, under indexing, click on pages. The first thing to pay attention to on here is the amount of not indexed pages and indexed pages. So not indexed means that Google found the page when they were out crawling the web. They know the page exists, but they have decided not to include it in their index. If it's not indexed, it's not eligible to show in search results. Indexed pages are the ones that are going to be eligible to show in search results. So those are the pages that Google has said we are going to move these into the index where they could show in response to a search query. And you can see how both of these are trending over time, and you can toggle these on and off so that way you can look at just one or the other to see how they're trending. So when I toggle off not indexed, I'm looking at only indexed pages, and I can see that it's been relatively steady on this site, growing incrementally as new pages have been added. And then I can also toggle on not indexed pages, and we see there was a big drop of those at the end of January. So after looking at that, I want to know more details. What is causing pages not to be indexed? For example, what maybe caused this particular drop on here? So for that, I can scroll down the page and I can look at why pages aren't indexed. So you've got lots of different reasons why pages aren't included in the index. A few of them are shown on here. It can be issues with redirects, like this one, where Google is either saying that the page redirected, so if it redirects, they're not going to include that in search results. You can also sometimes have redirect errors where there's something wrong with the redirect, and that's preventing the page from showing up in search results. You've also got things with duplication. So you've got alternate page with proper canonical, duplicate without user selected canonical, duplicate chose different canonical than user. All of those are different ways of understanding how duplication occurs on a site and whether or not the canonical tag is working or not. So you can dig into those and see how those are trending over time. Probably two of the biggest categories that I see coming up here a lot are crawled not indexed and discovered currently not indexed. Crawled not indexed means Google has crawled the page, but they have decided not to index that page. Oftentimes that has to do with something about the page quality. Sometimes that can also have something to do with technical problems that exist on the site. You've also got discovered currently not indexed. This too can point to a quality related issue. There's something about it that has prompted Google to not go back and crawl the page. Because if it's only been discovered, not only has it not been indexed, it's also not been crawled. They've only discovered it. They haven't actually gone to look at the guts of that page. So you will also want to check and see if there's anything preventing Google from being able to crawl this page or not. Along with looking at the reasons in this table, you can also see how many pages are in each of these categories. And then you can see how it's trending over time. So for example, crawled not indexed on this site fell pretty dramatically. That's the fall that we were seeing up here more than likely. You can click into any of these to see a list of URL examples. It won't necessarily show you all the pages that are listed here, especially if there's a lot, but if there's only a handful of pages, you'll probably see all of them in that list. Now, one of the more helpful things to do on here is you can filter this report by your XML sitemap. To do that, come up here where it says all known pages, click the drop down, and then you can choose one of these options. So you can either choose all known pages, that's the default that we see on here. So that's telling you about everything that Google knows about. You can also look at all submitted pages. All submitted pages means it's only going to show you the pages that are listed in one of your XML sitemaps. So that can be helpful to see what's happening with your XML sitemap or not. So if the pages are in the XML sitemap, that usually means that you want those pages to rank in search results. So in this case, there's 3 pages that are submitted that are in the XML sitemap that have not been included in the index. And a good question to ask is why? What are those 3 pages? Why are those not included in the index? And you can scroll down to the table and you can see what that is. So in this case, one of those URLs is a page with a redirect. 2 of those URLs are pages that Google has discovered, but they haven't gone back to crawl the page, they haven't gone back to index the page. So you can dig in and diagnose why that's happening. You can also see how many total pages there have been submitted here by adding these two together, and then you can make sure that most of those pages show up in the index. Now, if you have multiple XML sitemaps, you can also filter to specific sitemaps. So not necessarily everything that's been submitted, but everything that's been submitted within a particular sitemap. In the example I'm looking at here, there is only one sitemap file, so the filter to sitemap.xml would be the equivalent of a filter to all submitted pages, but sometimes you'll see multiple sitemaps on here. You'll see sitemaps for certain sections of the site or certain types of content. WordPress, for example, will show you a post XML sitemap and a page XML sitemap. It might also show you an XML sitemap for other content types that you have on there. And that can be really helpful to understand how certain parts of your website are being indexed or not being indexed, and how Google is handling those parts of your website. Now, one of the things that you can do on here as well is you can filter to unsubmitted pages only. Unsubmitted pages are pages Google has discovered that are not included in your XML sitemap. These are usually pages that you don't intend to show up in search results. These might be bad pages on your website or low quality pages on your website. So this can be a good way to figure out what kinds of stuff Google is finding that you may not necessarily want them to find. So on here with unsubmitted pages, most of them should probably be not indexed. The more concerning question is what is indexed on here. And for that, you can click View Data About Indexed Pages to view what those 32 pages are in this example. And that gives you an idea of what's ending up in search results or could end up in search results that you have not intentionally told Google about. Now, the other thing with unsubmitted pages is that some of these 427 pages maybe should show up in the XML sitemap. Maybe you do want to really intentionally tell Google about these pages. So you can come back down here to the Why Pages Aren't Indexed section, and you can look at what those URLs are. Now, in this case, most of those URLs are pages with redirect, indicating that these are probably older URLs that Google knows about. Those should never be listed in an XML sitemap, so that's okay that they aren't indexed. But you want to keep an eye on this to make sure that there's nothing in unsubmitted pages that should actually be submitted. If you've got any questions about working with this report in Google Search Console or other parts of Google Search Console, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at matthew@elementive.com.